Hi, my friends. I'm excited to come to you today with the testimony of my cousins, Kenny and Stephanie Fletcher. As they tell their story, you're going to hear about a couple that has always had big hearts. They've always loved to help other people. They have always been that person that's there to help whenever there was need. Kenny and Stephanie are close to us. We spend some time together. We have camped together. We've lived right down the road. Kenny and I grew up on the same little rural road, and we've played football together and softball together many years ago. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I want you to have the time to enjoy the first part of his testimony. And I hope that you will stick around, that you, if you have not yet, you will subscribe and you will like the video. Please ring the bell for notifications, and if you would, leave us a comment in the comment section. That helps not only myself as the YouTube channel operator. Also, you can get a note to Kenny. Kenny will be able to follow that. Stephanie will be able to follow that. So if you're new to being around here, please do all of those things. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, without further ado, here's Kenny and Stephanie sharing the story of about the last 10 years and some of the things that they have went through. This is not a depressing story. It's an exciting story. Let's see how God shows up in their life time after time after time after time. Thank you. Here's Kenny. Here's Stephanie. I guess, Kenny, let's start with you. Tell me about your upbringing, your family, your history before. Let's start before Stephanie.
Well,
And you put in and take out what you want.
I was raised in a good Christian family. I was raised by a father that, I was on drugs and drug me to church every day. But seriously, good, strong Christian family. And that's where I started from. And, I unfortunately, way before I met Stephanie, you get that 18-year-old attitude or 17-year-old, you know everything. And the world got a hold of me, and unfortunately, I did fall away from God. And, am I proud of it? No, but it made me a better person now because I can share the experiences that just because the world says it's okay, no, it's not. It's not easier. It's not better. It's probably even worse because you don't have that, this word I can come up with, the inner peace. Don't have that inner peace inside of you that no matter what is thrown at you, I'm covered. I'm okay. And I guess that's kind of in a nutshell real quick.
Okay.
Do
Do you believe as a child you had a relationship with Jesus?
Yes and no. I didn't understand it.
Sure.
As a child, I didn't understand it, and I feel bad of that because my parents, showed me, but I didn't quite understand. But I knew that he loved me. I knew there was, but I didn't have the relationship that I have now. Mm-hmm. With the things I've gone through, even don't mean to jump ahead, but even with my cancer, hey, if it took me, I win. I get to go to my reward. If I'm here, that's great too, because I can share my story and my testimony with it. So
you can sit here today.
Yeah, I can sit here today. So now you asked me that 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I'd have said, "Oh man, I'm not going to make it. Cancer's got me. My dad died. Going down the line. I could give you 1,000 words, reasons why I wasn't going to make it. But Yeah, it's
Did you feel like as a child it was more about the rules than it was the relationship? I mean,
yes,
we don't understand
yes,
relationship as a child. So
yes. It was more rules that you had to do this, you had to do that. You had to act a certain way. Yeah, it was more rules.
okay. Steph, what about you?
I grew up in a very Christian home. We went to church every Sunday. Um, I loved my church. And when I got into my teen years, it was all about church for me. I didn't have friends at school. It was all about my youth group. We spent days together during the week. We spent many days at our youth pastor's house just to be together. And we had every Sunday morning together, every Sunday night. We went on trips as groups. I wouldn't have made it through my parents' divorce without the Lord and my youth group. And my youth pastor counseled me through a lot of it because my mom could not get me to stop uncontrollably crying. So he got me through a lot, and I had a really good relationship with the Lord through my teenage years.
Good.
Then after I graduated high school, my mom remarried and moved away, and I was all of a sudden on my own. Had my own apartment, was working for myself, and then I was with another crowd. Then it was, you work nights, you get off work at midnight, you go out and eat, play cards, drink. So I went through that stage, and when I met Ken, after I went through my first marriage, that was really rough. And I met Ken and I met the Fletcher family. That's when I found the Lord again. And I came back. And that's why on our wedding day, I asked to be rebaptized.
Okay. Cool.
Because I was finding my way back and I wanted to dedicate myself back. Because in my religion, growing up, we were baptized as infants.
Okay.
And then we went through a communion service and committed ourselves as teenagers, but now I wanted to recommit myself as an adult, and so we did that on our wedding day, and
Awesome.
and that was really important to Dad, to your dad. My parents weren't at our wedding because they just didn't get along.
Okay.
So it was hard enough during my first wedding to have them there that I didn't want them. But we had a good day. It was just the kids and Ken's family, and my best friends stood up for me, and it was
Nice.
it just was small, but it was a great day, and we're back at Nub Lake afterwards, and everybody cooked out and had a good time. So
Hey, when you say that, it brings up something to my memory.
mm-hmm.
Remember when we wanted to do it on August the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, can't do it.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do it August. Something was going on. And we said, well, let's do it the 14th.
Some reason we wanted to get married in August.
It was every weekend, either the pastor was busy or we were busy. And anyway, so another weekend. I remember it was the 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. Boom, 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 boom. None of them worked. And the minister looked at us, Don, minister, and he says, "Well, you guys love each other. You've been through the counseling, and why wait?" So we decided in May. And tell boy.
We got married in May, and Dad passed in August, first part of August.
Gosh.
So and it was important for Dad to see us
dad?
together. Ken's dad.
My dad.
Uncle
Jim.
Jim.
Yeah, Jim Road passed away.
So it was like,
again, the Lord stepping in, saying, "Don't
Exactly.
wait. This is something that needs to be celebrated with him." Because
Yeah.
he used to shake his finger at Ken all the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
tell him to quit picking on me, and I'd say, "But Dad, if he quits picking on me, he must not love me anymore. Come on."
but it put Dad at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, it's because I was in that time when I had turned my back on God, turned it. She was bringing me back, and it put Dad at peace, knowing that I was on the right path. And like I say, August.
Yep.
And we got married in May, and it was soon after Dad's passing that we found out we were pregnant, and I was told I couldn't have kids.
Oh, okay.
So, and I again, I had 3 miscarriages, and I thank the Lord for every one of them, because I was not meant to have children at that time. I was meant to have a child with him. So.
Oh yeah, you just sit and think about stuff, that how things go in life, and you always wonder, like, well, I'm just luck. No.
Oh no,
No, it's not
I've
luck.
never
It's the
believed that.
divine hand of God directing you and just guiding you and just nudging you like a parent does. You know, Dad, you get to the grocery store and the parent will just kind of just nudge you along to get going. Quit looking at the toys. That's what's really. I never knew that. I never understood that. Never until I had the relationship with him. With the Lord.
So the Lord was nudging you along, even in the hard times.
Oh yeah.
From before.
Oh yeah. He was there. He kept me. Even when I turned my back on him and was doing things of the world, he was still like, okay, I still love you, just like a father. I still love you. I don't agree with it, but I'm here, and I'm going to protect you. It's just weird. It's weird.
So tell me, so you do you kind of set that date as when you came back to Christ at that time, and tell me, if you don't mind, what year that was and how old you guys were.
I was 30.
Well, I was 36. So you had to be 32 because you're 4 years younger.
So
low
to mid 30s. You'd been through a lot of life.
Oh yeah.
By that point, you've been through a lot of hard times. By that point.
Yep.
And you're saying, okay, it's been 15,
and even
16
with my
years.
first marriage, somehow it was meant to be. It was, I don't know what all God was showing me, and I had a wonderful relationship with his parents, with my in-laws, and I went to church with them.
Okay.
And they were a very big part of the Lutheran church over on Yankee. And that's the church that we got married in, and it was important to me to have the kids there. But there was still, I wasn't behaving as a Christian because my ex-husband was doing drugs and I was right there along with it. He was, it was a natural thing. Every weekend we were at the bar with our friends. It just, and now that I think back, like that's just, that's just not me. I don't even know why it was me then, because everybody else was doing it, I guess. It was just, I was more of a follower than a leader. So, but yeah,
But you still see God's hand in it. God's hand still. And then Ken, when did you really come back to Christ?
That's a good.
And it can be a process.
It was a process. It was a process. It was, it was a process from the time that we got together. But what really opened my eyes is when my brother passed, and the works that Paul, and the works that he'd done, and what he accomplished in his 46 years on this earth. And it's like, wow, I just never, and so that just made me even more want to work harder. Not to be known for anything, but just to have that walk with the Lord. I mean, yeah, it was a slow process, but what really cemented it, or really, is during the journey of when Stephanie had her open heart. Just the thought of that was when I really got on my knees and just said, I don't understand. It's in your hands. I'm scared. I need you. And it's been a great process. It's been a learning process, and I'm still learning to this day, to this minute, to this second. I'm still learning, and I get frustrated because if I'd have been paying attention earlier, I'd have been knowing more, and I would have had better understand. I'd be able to just recite verses, but that's okay. I'm okay with it.
So you would say, don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Yeah.
So you guys both came back to Christ, and then everything was real rosy. And
No.
you got along perfectly, right?
No, Satan still pops his head up from time to time. Yeah.
So how long was it from that point where you really turned your life over? And I would imagine you knew, Steph, that he had made a change.
2012-ish.
He
from
made
my
that.
accident. That's when I saw some growth seriously starting. And yeah, the biggest change was his diagnosis.
Tell us about your accident before we get to the. Tell us about that day. What happened? What you remember?
Well, prior to the accident, when my dad was
Yes.
going through his cancer, and I was that person that was driving to Kalamazoo every day after work, and I even had people saying that I was neglecting my family, my kids and my husband, and there was times that he was angry, but I didn't care. I just knew that I needed to be there. And when I got a call from the hospital at 3:00 in the morning that my dad had become combative and nobody could get him under control, I went. I called my stepmother, but she didn't go. I went. And I calmed him down and got things together, and I went to work the next day. That's just what I did. And when he got to the nursing home in South Haven, I went there every day. It was a horrible, horrible place. And there's a lot of, that's a whole nother story of my childhood with my dad and the things that he did. And I do remember being really, really angry with him. And I think I was angry because there was some things that we never discussed. And then I was angry because I felt like I knew he wasn't going to get better. And I wanted him to. And I was working so hard to help him. And he wasn't. And I'll never forget being on my knees in front of him and looking up at him and said, "You know what I'm doing, Dad? I'm building my stairway to heaven." Because I had to let go, and I had to forgive him without having that conversation. So I knew that I'd lost that opportunity. He didn't know, he couldn't speak, so it wasn't ever going to happen. And so I was also, at the same time, I was driving to St. Joe once a week to clean my aunt's house for them. So it was the Sunday, Nancy wanted to go to church, so I said I would come sit with Dad, and it was a good day. My dad smiled. I'll never forget the fact that he smiled that day. And my brother Kenny and his girl Tammy came over, and we tried to get my dad up and walk, and it was a rough day, but it was a good day. Monday I went to work all day, got off work. I went to my aunt's to clean her house. I left there, knew I needed to eat, checked my sugar, was at 75, stopped at Burger King, got a big burger and fries, the whole works, and started driving. I took my insulin to go with, I had the insulin pump at the time, but I took my insulin to go with it. I don't remember anything after that until they were waking me up. I woke up and I saw the sign that I was in South Haven. And the first thing I asked, did I hurt anybody? I knew that the accident was my fault when I woke up. Mainly, I think, because I heard them saying what my blood sugars were. We got her up into the 20s.
Wow.
Lord knows what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up, I was in a neck brace, and there was a saw going, I could hear a saw. So they were trying to cut me out of the car, and they said everybody was okay. I thought I must have hit this brick wall that was there, but evidently I did hit another car, but the people were okay. And then I just kept saying, do you know Nancy Whaley? Do you know Nancy Whaley? I'm supposed to be there putting my dad to bed. And I knew what my plan was. I was going to stop and get gas because it was on sale in South Haven. So I was going to get gas in South Haven and then there was price wars going on or something at the time. And then I was going to go put my dad to bed. And they did contact her like about 10 o'clock. But they took me to South Haven Hospital. Of course, they couldn't treat me. And I remember I don't even know who the first one. Alex had to get with some friends. Alex and Cody, and they had to go get him because he was on his way out of town. So they had to drive where? To Chicago?
Yeah.
Indiana, lower Indiana, Chicago to get him. But I remember laying on that table in a neck brace. For some reason, one thing that sticks in my head is my earring was sticking in my neck. And I was all alone, and I was yelling for someone to please come in. That hurts. That hurt. I was beat up all to heck, but that hurt. And they came in and adjusted that, and I got on the phone with him, and all I could say was I was sorry. I was so sorry. And I could just hear a different tone in his voice. And that's later I found that he couldn't believe that I was sorry for wrecking the car. Well, that was the first car in our life, in my life ever, that we went to a car lot and bought. Wasn't bought off of somebody else. Wasn't handed down from our parents. It was our first, and I loved that car. And I was devastatedly sorry. I thought I was going to get yelled at because I wrecked the car, because I let my sugar go low, because I just kept saying it was all me. And I don't know, next thing I know, they were putting me on my helicopter and shipping me to Kalamazoo. And then all of the kids were all of a sudden there. Jason was there, Brian and Kelly were there, my aunt from St. Joe came. My mom was trying to get there. That's part of the problem of her being so far away. But he got there, and he stayed up all night with me. But yeah, he did later then come and say he can't believe I was apologizing. And I think it was, we worked so hard to get something new.
Yeah, sure.
And we didn't even have new furniture. Everything's, still to this day, I got hand-me-down furniture.
If you'd have seen the car,
which I do have a picture of that.
He did go see the car. It was just,
yeah. Well,
and I still to this day, again, God I survived that, but God had me.
God had a hand around her, because if you'd have seen the car, basically there was the engine had just was gone.
We'll insert it into the video.
It was just and again, God was protecting her.
And
but
this
he was
a
also
Monday.
slowing me down.
Yes, this was a Monday.
This is a Monday, and I was in the hospital until we were there overnight, and then I had to do some follow-ups on my diabetes because
I messed it all up.
Yeah, well, not necessarily that. I didn't have a diabetic doctor on my team. I didn't have a diabetic doctor.
And then
because there wasn't any in our area. So then they found me somebody way up in part of Kalamazoo and set me up with that doctor to try to get it back in track.
You got out on this happened on a Monday. You got out on a Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was at night. So I was there an extra day.
But your dad had passed away.
He didn't pass away. I was home.
On Friday.
On Friday. And I was home alone.
Yeah.
Because you went back out on the road to finish that. Because Malik and Alex were taking care of me.
Yeah.
And dressing my wounds. I had a really bad wound.
So she had the accident Monday. She came home on a Wednesday, which again, if you looked at the vehicle and look at it's just amazing. She didn't have broken legs, broken arms, broken
No,
neck,
I
broken
did.
back. None of that. All she had
What was the injuries?
Well, I had a very large gash on my leg, and I was very sore, and my knee hurt really bad. But they didn't see anything in any of the X-rays, and so they said. But I was in a walker because I was in so much pain in my legs. That happened in October, mind you. It was the following April that I said I just can't take the pain in my knee anymore. And they sent me to a specialist, and I did have torn meniscus, and they found that I did, when they went in and did the surgery for that I did crack my kneecap. Now it was just they had to clear up some of the scar tissue. So my kneecap was cracked, but I have a very high pain tolerance. I just worked my way through it until I couldn't take it anymore. That's kind of how I roll. But, and again, I had a really good day with my dad on Sunday. I didn't know that Monday that she had called in hospice, and that's when they brought in the hospital bed. So I never saw my dad from that point. And then Friday morning at 9 o'clock, I got a call that my dad had passed. And I tried to get there before they took him, Alex, to drive me up there but I didn't get there before they took him. So I never did see him after that Sunday. But again, when I look at, like, just this past, when we went to see George, and he was in his hospital bed, and he was, I thought, I didn't have to do that. I have one good last day that I had with my dad, and that's my memory that the Lord gave me. I didn't, somehow, I don't know why it was an accident, but also it helped me pay more attention to my diabetes, too.
Yeah.
And get that better under control.
Yeah. So at that point, of course, your dad had passed, and things had went fairly smooth until you had a heart attack.
The second heart attack. I'd had the first heart attack because when my dad had his, he kept trying to tell me that I knew what he was going through, and he had had a quadruple bypass, and I just had some stents. I said, Dad, I have no idea what you're going through.
Right.
It's a big difference. But
that's a big difference.
Yeah, at Brian and Kelly's wedding was the second heart attack.
Second heart attack.
Yeah, and that wedding was so important to me, and I didn't get to be a part of it.
But we were the two best dressed in an emergency room.
We were.
Man, did we look good.
Yeah.
And then that one led to an open heart surgery.
Nope.
Oh, no. Okay.
That one was, I had a 90% blockage, and they rushed me right in and put a stent in. Like there was the first heart attack, it was wait overnight, go get some stents. The second one was rush right in, get a stent put in, and then that was all. When did Brian and Kelly get married? That's 15 years ago. So 2019. Was when I, 2000, well, it was 2018-ish.
Yeah.
Is when I started, it was in November-ish. Yeah, November or so, around there. I would tell him, we'd be walking through Walmart. I don't feel right. This tightness in my chest and this winded, I don't feel right. And it was probably the first part of December when I finally said, I just got to go see my cardiologist. So I made an appointment with him. And he did a stress test and said, we need to go in and do the scope. And when he took me in to do that, he said, we're either going to fix it or I'm going to tell you it's time for open heart. And I was laying on the table and he was in and out and said, you have to have open heart. And then Jason and, God bless Jason, and Jason and Ken were waiting for me and came out. And they had to put me on some pretty strong meds because it was bad enough that they were worried I would have a heart attack before, and I had to wait until after January because I had to go through all these tests and stuff before, and then the one appointment they had set up to start the surgery, the doctor had an emergency and worked all night, so they didn't want him working in the morning, so it went to the...
Yeah, you want your doctor awake when they got your heart open.
Yeah. And at first, they had said that it was going to be on a Friday, it was going to be on a Friday. And then they tried to say, no, we're going to wait. And he threw a fit with those doctors and nurses. And that's why they said, okay, we're going to do it on Friday. But then that Thursday night is when the doctor had that emergency, and so I had to wait till the next Monday
You
anyway.
just
or
kept
whatever.
putting it off, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It just really,
He was scared.
it just, yeah. So they have double bypass.
Double bypass.
Double bypass.
Yep.
Double bypass. Okay.
But again, it could have been a heart attack that would
Sure.
have killed me.
Sure. Absolutely.
And there was God.
Absolutely.
That's
And Ken, you were on the road.
Yeah.
You were driving at the time.
Yep,
I
driving.
mean, you were home at that point, but
yeah,
and God
But-
always
but you're-
made him home.
yeah,
For both of my heart attacks, he was with
I
me.
was
Really?
home. Yeah,
really. Yeah.
yeah.
So you see God's hand there,
Oh,
Mhm.
but you were struggling to see God's hand in putting off the surgery and
I was trying to do I want to control it.
sure, absolutely.
And you know, and that's another thing I want to say. What you want in life may not be, it may not what he wants in life, or what he has a plan for you. So that's patience. God has a plan. You may not be your plan, but he's got a plan.
yeah,
That's one thing.
patience inside the panic.
Yeah, that is one thing I've learned from a lot of the stuff. That just just be patient. And
Yeah. So you got the heart surgery, and then that's doing pretty good. I mean, I've seen you working at the campground, so that's doing pretty good.
Yep.
Then the next mountain that you had to climb.
Yeah.
a year
Tell us
later,
about that.
Not
A
even
year
a
later.
year later.
a year later, not even a year later.
That was January of 19. I had my surgery.
I just had not been feeling. I've been feeling okay, but I just been getting short of breath. And I figured, I'm out here in the West. It's high altitude. I'm just out of shape, and all this, and didn't really think much about it. But I don't know. Then I started getting this cough, and it was a cough, and it was a cough, and it was a cough, and it just kept going. And I caught like a cold, and I could never get rid of it. So I finally just went to the doctor, and this was about late October. And so he said, well, let's do this. Let's go down and get a chest, the x-rays.
October of 2019.
2019. Went down and got a chest x-ray, and he said, that's just not really being really good. Let's do a CT scan. I said, okay. So went and did a CT scan, and then that's when he said, I'm going to refer you to a pulmonologist.
Well, he did give you medicine for bronchitis.
Yeah, he gave me
before he
some
started
yeah.
all the tests.
Yeah, he
just
gave
in
me,
case.
for bronchitis. So then got in to see a pulmonologist, and he looked at the CT scan. He looked at this, and he finally said, "Hey, you've got a spot." That's all he called it, a spot on your bronchi that feeds the upper part of your right lung. And he said, "I want to look at it." Okay, so he set up an appointment, and we had to go do
A biopsy.
a tracheotomy. So they go down and that's a tracheotomy.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah.
They go down and took a biopsy of it, and we went down there. I was in there joking with him and asking if I was going to be totally out. And he said, "Oh yeah, you won't remember much." And I said, "Okay." And did the biopsy and went and told her before I was wide awake, and told her, and she just you just kind of like fell apart there a little bit.
Mm-mm. No, we didn't. He, I don't know how to explain it exactly. I was in the waiting room by myself, and of course I was praying the whole time that it was going to come out good. And he opened the door and said, just was kind of very straightforward, "It's cancer." He didn't even give me a chance to really get all the way up out of my seat and get there. And I can't explain this from my head to my toes. This warm, tingly feeling went all the way through my body, and it was like something hit me, but yet I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do at that moment. And I had a lot of people saying what's going on. And I just went into that group chat and said, it's cancer. I'm here dealing with it by myself. Pretty much leave me alone. Because I'm by myself and I have to process.
Then the Dr. Naveed.
And then, Dr. Naveed told him, but for me, like, I had this feeling he was going to be okay. But in the process of him getting okay, my mind went straight to my dang budget. Mm. And I thought, okay, I can afford the camper and I can afford the car and my income. I don't care about anything else. I can lose the house. I can lose everything for him. We can live in the camper and I have my car. Mm-hmm. I just started doing these calculations. What can we do? How am I going to just do? He's the breadwinner of my family. He's the one that makes the money that pays the bills, and then I felt bad. Like, why am I going straight to money? But something didn't tell me that I had to do that for a long term. Mm-hmm. Something told me I just had to do what I had to do to get him better, and what was I going to do financially until he was better. I knew he had crappy insurance, but that was what it was, and we would just deal with it. And in that group, I said that I was alone. Next thing I know, Kevin and Retha lived there in St. Joe. They came right there. And just as they got there, they were discharging him. So,
who's Kevin and Retha?
The friends at the camp, at campground, Warner Campground.
Friends of ours.
Which is a huge part of our journey with the Lord, too.
Well, we're going back there. That's why I wanted you to say that.
Yeah.
One thing that really surprised the doctor.
Yeah, he told me he knew.
He even told her. He knew. He knew.
Yeah, he didn't. I think he felt like being that blunt with me was okay because he already knew. He knew in his heart that he had cancer.
He knew that you knew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think he thought it was okay, but then when I saw the look on my face.
What surprised him, the doctor, how it surprised him was, I already knew it was cancer. Mm-hmm. That I already knew it.
And he was already all right.
It caught him off guard because I was joking about it. And he named what it was. And I said, so, you're going to get Sasquatch out of me? I can't remember the technical name, but I called it Sasquatch because that's all I could.
That was as close as you could get.
So I called it Sasquatch. I said, so what are we going to do? We're gonna zap him. We're gonna cut him. We're gonna, and that's when after we got together, I just said, well, Lord, I don't know what you got planned. I'm laying it at your feet. It's all yours.
This is when you guys got back together after that first, after that test.
In the car.
In the car, as we're getting ready to leave the hospital, and I just said, don't know where the journey's going to lead me. I don't know what the chapter is going to be, how it's going to end, but I am going to trust you. You are going to guide me. But that's not the truth. Because I was getting really antsy. I was calling all kinds of doctors trying to get this stinking thing out of me. I was calling, when
the one doctor we went to the same doctor that did my open heart.
Okay.
He was the one that we were referred to.
Yeah.
And he was pretty honest with us. Like, he knew how to take out the whole lung, but he did not know how to take out just the part that needed to come out and then reconnect everything. And he was going to talk to his colleagues and get back to us. Thank the Lord for pushing him to be proactive, because he just started doing his own research.
Well, what happened, and again, I know they're busy, but something just told me that you have to do a little. Bottom line was, about a week later, I heard nothing. Didn't hear a thing. So I just started doing a little research of my own. And I found a really awesome doctor up in Grand Rapids, Dr. Lamb, who specializes in this. So, long story short is, so I called, made an appointment. I go up there and I'm expecting, okay, I've got this. We're going to go in there. We're going to get this thing. taken out of me. We're going to get it cut out. We're going to get it. You know, this is the guy. This is the guy. I mean, I'm pushing it. Okay, let's get that.
Our conversation
I'm pushing it.
In the waiting room. We got put in the room waiting for the doctor to come in, and I'm like, man, you planned this out good. I said, you're going to get this surgery.
Keyword.
Camp's going to open.
I planned this
he
out.
planned it good. I said, you're going to get this surgery, and you're going to get the camp's going to open. You're going to be able to relax at the campground and recover, and it's all going to be good. And
no.
That doctor came in and said, no, he wasn't going to do that. And that warm feeling went all through me again. Like,
you should have seen the look on my face.
What are you talking about? You're not going to do surgery. What do you mean? He had a plan.
Again, key. I want it. That, you know, I didn't let. I 1 minute I say, "Okay, Lord, I'm laying it at your feet. What's your plans?" Then I turn around and say, "But I want this, and I want to do it this way."
It doesn't.
Stop it. Doesn't work that way. When you have to be patient. And that's one thing it taught me. Going through this, it taught me a lot as far as that. So anyway, so we had the interview and all that. And he said, "Okay, what we want to do, we're going to want to shrink it." I go, "Okay." What do you mean?
He's a good artist.
Okay,
he drew everything out.
I want to back up a little bit.
Okay.
I want to back up in the timeline
Okay.
of the story. Okay, you had a heart attack. Your father died. You had open heart surgery. You talked about the anxiety of having to get that open heart surgery done.
Yep.
And yet both of you had some type of a peace about trusting the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Lord don't give us doctors to just sit back on our behinds and just wait for him all the time. I understand that anxiety. What was the difference inside of you between you two, between the heart attack or the open heart surgery, the need for the open heart surgery and the need for the cancer surgery?
Well, I guess it's with her open heart, it was one of those deals where it was fairly cut. I mean, I shouldn't say cut and dry, but it was more of a routine thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Being the cancer father, 3 uncles on my dad's side, 2 uncles on my mom's side. The cancer was really prevalent, and so it really, I felt I needed to act. It was a little bit more. How can I say? I wasn't worried about it, but I wanted to get it taken care of quickly.
Well, and you did on both of those. And I guess what I'm fishing for is, were you in the campground at the time of the open heart surgery?
No. Yes.
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 Were you?
Yes.
But you were active in the campground.
Yes.
At your cancer time. Because, I mean, we were there.
Right.
Yes.
At the campground time.
And that brings up a good point. Get off subject a little bit here. Not really, but that was another thing, that the way things moved.
Mm-hmm.
She was on a field trip with Bangor Public Schools and went to Warner Camp.
On a field trip.
On a field trip. She went there, saw the trailers, started asking questions. We decided to go up there a couple times.
Well, it wasn't just that, because when I started asking questions, number one, they told me that it was a Christian camp.
Yep.
Number two, they told me that they didn't allow alcohol or smoking. And it was John Walters. He was at the time the activities director, so he was the one in charge of the field trip. And we talked a lot, and he told me about how they had plans to grow it, that right now they didn't have full hookups, but there was a plan to get there, and all of the growth. And I said, can anybody come and camp there? And he said, yeah. And so I told Ken, I said, I found a new campground. We're going to try it. And we did one time. We went there 2
Twice.
weekends, and then we set down a deposit.
the best way I can explain it, at Warner Camp in Grand Junction, Michigan, the peace, the quiet, you can feel the presence of the Lord there. And I guess when we went there the first couple of times, then we decided to do a seasonal. And again, God was directing the paths and getting me where I needed to be when I was going to go through my cancer. Just guide. And again, so yeah.
We had a good group of friends at the time of my heart attack, and we did a lot to like help out on weekends and stuff. But a lot of it, I spent a lot of time there alone because you were still on the road.
On the road.
And that's why I liked it so much, because I could go camping and I could have everything opened up when he did come in. And there was so many times when he was on the road that we had to cancel camping trips because he wouldn't make it back or something. He would have to go out again. So that was one of the biggest draws too. But we had the start. We were rooted at the time of my heart attack. And then like the weekend he got diagnosed was right the week before Thanksgiving. And as funny as it seems, because we have a huge family, we have raised a lot of kids, we had no place to go for Thanksgiving. And a group from the camp invited us to their home for Thanksgiving dinner. And we had a wonderful time.
So again, God working behind the scenes, making sure that we're just. So yeah, so the camp was very instrumental in my recovery. But
I mean, you guys were involved in church probably someplace, and
we were searching.
We
were searching for one.
But the camp
was
your
our
family
church,
of believers
Right.
that you were together.
It
Because
was kind of our church.
as I say, we were there at the time when you were diagnosed. I think we might have been next door to you at that point.
Could have been.
Or we were down where we ended up at. But I remember, and there you had a good group of support.
Oh yeah, they were all standing outside our house when I brought him home from the hospital. Even though it was COVID, they were all distanced across the street, waving him in when I brought him home from the hospital.
Yeah. So,
backing up to, like I say, when I was up there to the doctor, when I wanted it done my way, I had a real quick slap of reality. The Lord said, "Hey, Bubba, remember? You said laid it at my feet. I'm in charge."
Really?
I was kind of, at first I was just like, oh, I thought this could. And then I realized, okay, I got to take my time. And that's when he said I had to go through, and you get through. He was going to refer me back down to a radiologist and a oncologist. So we got that going. So I had to go through 6 weeks of radiation and then 6 weeks of chemo. And the cancer cell that was in me was one that it grows on your on your esophagus or on your bronchi inside.
Okay.
It was attached there, and they wanted to shrink it into a manageable position, because right now it was about 3 centimeters. So they wanted to get it smaller to get it easier to work with. And the radiologist, when I first started, Dr. Ben, really a neat guy. He's a deer hunter, so we had a lot in common. And he said usually these don't shrink. This sarcoma, I call it Sasquatch. But it doesn't shrink. But he says, sometimes they do. So anyway, I said, well, it's going to be fine. It's going to work. It's going to be fine. So I went through the 6 weeks of chemo or radiation. I'd go in for my chemotherapy, and I'm telling you, the people that I was there with was just
Spend some
awesome.
time on that.
Pardon?
Spend some time on the people there.
The people at radiologists, I'd go in there, and they just would always ask how I was doing, and I just said great. I mean, they cared. I mean, they'd listen. Are you sure you're okay? Are you just not faking it? Are you just, I'm not faking it, but just saying you're okay when you're not feeling good. Very worried about it as far as the nurses and the staff. And the girls there, they just loved seeing me because I remember one time, and they said, so how you doing today? And I says, how am I doing? Well, let me tell you, I'm 62 years old. I'm a short, fat guy. I get to take my shirt off in front of a bunch of good-looking girls. So now you tell me how I feel. And they just laughed, and they said, that's why we like seeing you here, because you always just show some curve at us. And it just, they were just really, I shared things with them as far as, I know I was going to be okay because God was guiding me. And it just, and then over at the chemo, I'd go in once a week, and I sat there, and it made me realize when I was sitting there, and I'm looking at other people, and they're just like, they're just like wore out, they're tired, and I'm thinking, why am I so lucky? Why am I what's going on that makes me? I'm taking all this really medicine inside of me.
Wait a minute, you're doing chemo
and radiation,
and you've got cancer, and you're asking yourself why you're so lucky?
Yes. Why am I get this stuff put inside of me? I get up and I walk out and I drive myself home. No side effects, no ill effects. I'm not losing my hair yet, which I did eventually. But I'm thinking, I'm looking at these other folks, these other people, and they're just like, I feel so. I shouldn't be here because I feel great. I feel good. And these four people are just, they got to be wheeled in on chairs. They got to be wheeled in. And I'm thinking to myself, but I wonder, what kind of relationship do they have with God? What kind of relationship do they have with Jesus?
And that's where we're going to leave Kenny and Stephanie's story. And I want to invite you back on Friday. We'll share the second half of their story. There's a lot to come. There's a few things that are really going to shock you because they just come one right after the other for them. And when I originally heard the story, I thought, you know what? The world's got to know what God can do when we're in a tough spot. You've heard Kenny use the term, which shocked me when he did use it, how he's so lucky. My friend, if you're struggling with cancer, heart problems, diabetes, the different things that's going on, you know what? You can look around and you can find people that are worse off than you. It's not always easy to do, but I'm telling you, you can do it. If you're struggling to do that, leave a note in the comments. We would be happy to pray for you. Kenny will pray for you. We will spend some time before the Lord and we will help. We will pray and find you help that you can go through what you're going through the help of the Holy Spirit. Thank you so much for listening. Come back on Friday and we'll have the last half of his story and Stephanie's story as we go forward. Thank you for coming.